Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of Karamawian, and let's get straight to business. So this week I went back to my project, the property management software that I'm building using Spring Boot and React. And after taking a week off, not necessarily like a week off, is that I wanted to focus on learning the basics of MCPs because I just got tired of going to all these events and people would talk about MCPs and I just had no idea what they were talking about. So I was like, you know what? Let me dedicate a week, really make a project, MCP server and a client, and just a mini project. And through that, learn the basics and fundamentals. So whenever I go to an event or something, people are talking about it, I can now show a project, and now I have an understanding of what an MCP server is. But I still need to find out where MCP is going to fall with this project, but I'll cross that bridge when I get there. Now I'm back working on this, and I'm still working on the back end, even though you can see here some front end code. But I'm just making sure that everything makes sense on the back end before I start working on the front end, because the flow is I need to work on the buildings. Buildings have apartments, apartments have tenants. So as you can see here, I only have the building and the apartment entities because I still haven't gotten to the tenants, because I need to make sure that this is flawless. So I added certain details like the contact email and the contact phone number, which it didn't have 2 days ago, as you can see here, because I just didn't think about it. And I'm like, wait, if I create a building, it should have all the information for a tenant to reach out just in case something happens. So I added that, and then I reworked the services and just made sure that everything was working, the details and all that good stuff. And then another thing that I did is that I was going to start testing my API endpoints, and I was going to use Postman like I always do. And then I remember, hey, I remember working with Swagger UI, which is a proper documentation for your backend, which is very helpful if you're working with front end developers, which is what I was doing when I was doing the DSD cohort back in March. I was doing the front end, and my backend developer, all I had to do was just come here and I would know what he was doing, and all I had to do was just tap into the endpoints, and it made my life so much easier. So yesterday I had no idea how to make a Swagger page, but that's why you use AI. So that's what I did, and now I know how to make one. So it's just funny how sometimes Gemini and these LLMs give you examples and code, and then you look at it and you're like, nah, there's no way, man. It can't be this long. So it was giving me like this example on how to create a Swagger page, and I was like, man, this looks like very wordy. There has to be a better way. And guess what? There is. So I was able to learn how to use JPA annotations in order to create my own Swagger page. And as you can see here, it's very cool. So first I need to make sure that I create just a class to hold these configurations. So this OpenAI config, that's all it does. It's doing nothing but holding these definitions. And as you can see here, you can see the title, which is LeaseMate.io API. You see it here. You see version 1.0. You see it here. You see the description, which is here. And then the licenses, the servers, and the contact information for the person creating the application, in this case, myself. And then today, since I'm working with JWTs for Clerk, when it comes to the authentication, is going to be using JWTs. So I added the security schema, letting Spring Boot know that I'm using HTTP requests and I'm using the bearer auth in order to get the session token. This morning, I was trying to test the endpoints. All I was trying to do was create a building. And as you can see here, it's already done, but I was struggling to make this work. And I was having issues getting the JSON Web Token from Clerk. And I was trying, and I was going, and I was creating, and I was asking Gemini, and man, I was just doing circles and circles. And then I'm like, okay, let me figure this out, because that's the whole reason I did the to-do list app with using the same stack that I'm using for this project. I did that on purpose, just in case whenever I got stuck, I can just go back to the project and see, oh, okay, this is how I did it. And then I noticed that the way that I got the JSON Web Token with that application was through the front end. And essentially what I did was I had to use packages that Clerk has, like signing button, the sign out, and the user, and the use auth. And through this, I was able to, with this little bit of code, I'm able to get the JSON Web Token. And when I log in here and hit this button, it gets me the JSON Web Token that I need in order for me to pass it here. And once you pass it here, you make it acceptable for Swagger UI, and now it's able to let you do the post request, and then it connects and it sends the information to Supabase. Because the problem is when you're using authentication methods, if you try to post without using a JSON web token, you get a 401 issue, which is just telling you, hey, I can't post this because you need to authenticate yourself. Like, who are you? So that's why you need the JSON web token. And then you're able to use the post request and all the requests that it will require. So you can see here, this is the JSON web token. You can't see the whole thing because I'm not going to show it. But as far as I can see, it changes every time you refresh is a new session. So now we have this working. I'm able to create buildings. The next step is I need to be able to connect apartments to buildings. And once I'm able to do that, then I'll start working with the tenant portion. But this is all I have for you guys. And thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one. Peace.